Welcome back to Native Speaker. Now we're going to look at the but family, specifically the emphasize and surprise cousins. These include even though, even so, even with, for all, still, just the same, all the same, yet, be that as it may, notwithstanding, despite, in spite of, nonetheless, nevertheless, and regardless. So here we have 15 of these emphasize and surprise cousins. But what are the emphasize and surprise cousins? Well, these are words and phrases from the but family that we use to express surprise and emphasize a contradiction of some kind, especially but not exclusively in discussion and debate. Here I'll show you an example of where a manager is complaining to a member of staff about a mistake they made. Okay, so you're telling me that despite the fact that you got a complaint from our client, you still did nothing? She contacted this office 3 times, yet you never replied. I mean, for all your talk about customer care, you ignored her issue. I understand that you were busy with the social media project. Be that as it may, you really took your eye off the ball here. You have to make our clients your priority regardless of your other duties, even with your current workload. So here you can see 7 of the emphasize and surprise phrases where the boss is showing surprise and emphasizing how unhappy he is. So you can see that by using some of these link words, there is a tone of emphasis and surprise in the manager's voice. Let's have a closer look now at the positions these take in sentences. So you have position A, position B, and position C, and we'll put in a point, a link phrase, and a counterpoint. We'll start by putting in a but to keep it simple, and then we'll put in our point and our counterpoint either side. You can see that in the vast majority of these sentences, except for this one here, but will work perfectly well. You put in a comma at the before but and nothing after it, and then you can build your sentence. So Mark sprained his ankle, but he showed up for work the next day. Well, that's surprising, isn't it? Our company wasn't allowed to operate during the COVID pandemic, but we still had to pay our taxes. So that's surprising because we're suggesting it's unfair. But now we want to take out but and put in an alternate combination of punctuation and see some other words and phrases from the emphasize and surprise cousins. So Mark sprained his ankle. Nonetheless, he showed up for work the next day. Our company wasn't allowed to operate during the COVID pandemic. Nevertheless, we still had to pay our taxes. So these 2 words are pretty much twins. In the past, maybe 60 years ago, they were considered as being slightly different, but things have changed now and language evolves, and now they're considered as being the same. There are 3 words together, nonetheless, and here nevertheless. Just keep them together as one word. Is it possible to write them? It is possible to write them separately, but it's not popular anymore. I've also seen suggestions in some research where you can hyphenate them. That's extremely rare. I really haven't come across that myself in natural language usage. So just keep them as one word. Does it have to be like this? No, it varies. I must say it does vary. But this is a common one. Semicolon, nonetheless, nevertheless, and then comma. Okay? Karen was constantly arguing with her sister and brother, comma, yet when they needed her help, she was there for them. So the first thing about yet is it often surprises students that this word can mean but it does, especially when you're trying to give a flavor of emphasis or surprise. And yes, you might be more familiar with it as I haven't done my homework yet, but here it means but, so that's good for you to know. Eva was running late for the meeting with the HR manager. Even so, she still had to stop to do her makeup. So when you say that somebody's running late, and this is a very popular phrase nowadays, by the way, it makes you sound like you're not late because you're an idiot. It's because you are so busy and successful that you're behind schedule. So that's a nice little phrase if you're ever sending a text to try and make an excuse. So Eva was running late for the meeting with the HR manager. So here we picture Eva running along a corridor. She's very stressed about her not being on time, and she still stops to do her makeup in the bathroom. Wow, that's surprising, isn't it? And even so is used to emphasize this contradiction, this surprise. The government's plan to deal with traffic congestion failed miserably, failed very badly. Dash, even with all their sophisticated satellite technology. Now you may remember that this was the only option where but wouldn't work. And that's because over here there was no subject verb noun combination. It was just a noun phrase. All their sophisticated satellite technology, even with, tends to be followed by like a noun or a noun phrase, like a couple of words that mean a noun. Here, I know all this social distancing in the office is a total pain. Dash, just the same, comma, we've got to play ball and do it until this virus situation dies down. So just the same is another one of these emphasis and surprise cousins. Here I've decided to go with a dash and a comma, and you can see here a contraction to weave and the compression of gotta, and this idiomatic expression play ball, which means do what you're told. But it's being enthusiastic and suggesting that we need to comply and accept and obey. Look, I understand that this new situation is hard on students. Full stop. All the same, you still have to hand in assignments on time. So again, we are using this one. So here we can see a number, not all of them, but a number of the emphasize and surprise cousins. You'll notice as well that still, which was on the original list of cousins, is also being used over here. And this is just another spoon of emphasis and surprise. Okay, it's just another spoon of it, so extra is being put in to emphasize more our surprise of the situation. So why don't you just use but? Why are you using all these other words and phrases, students say in frustration? Well, very simple. They add a flavor of a surprise and emphasis. So they give extra focus on this surprise and emphasis. By the way, you'll notice that I often say emphasis, and then sometimes I say emphasize. This is the verb and this is the noun. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with your hearing, but they sound similar but different. So this is important about these phrases. They add this extra flavor. But don't forget, you're going to meet these words in reading and listening scenarios, and you'll also get a chance to use them yourself now in speaking and writing. So it'll improve your reading performance, it'll improve your listening performance because you're not going to be confused by them. And it'll also improve your writing and your speaking because you'll sound more like a native speaker. Now, some of them are more popular than others and more common in everyday language. Some of them, I have to say, are not that commonly used by people, but it's good for you to know them all so that if you see it in a text or if it comes up on the TV or the radio, you're not confused. One thing about just the same and all the same, these are pretty much identical in meaning and construction. They have an additional flavor. They suggest that even though you understand the other person's perspective and are sympathetic to their situation, that's a key word there, you're sympathetic to their situation, you are telling them that they still have to do what they don't want to do or accept what they don't want to accept. Really, you're just telling them, yeah, stop complaining and accept it, but with lots of extra sugar, like here. So we'd add these words like, I know, look, I understand, these kind of sympathetic sounds that make you look more sympathetic, but still they have to do what they don't want to do or accept what they don't want to accept. So that's a quick introduction at some of the link phrases from the emphasize and surprise cousins. These are just phrases, these are just a title that I give these phrases so that we can understand them, so that you can absorb these into your understanding more. You can digest them. One of the things we'll look at in our upcoming videos is that these link phrases can change position. They can go in position A or position 3, believe it or not. That's quite surprising for students. And also that there are other punctuation options that we can look at. Punctuation, I have to say, has got a little bit out of hand in native speaker usage, because you'll get journalists who might not have been the best students at school, but they were pretty nosy, and now they're very famous, and they're writing in the Washington Herald or the New York Times or the Times of London, and now they are kind of doing it their way, and they don't always pay attention to the styles. And this, of course, gets picked up by everybody else. And monkey see, monkey do. You'll find that there is a lot of confusion and debate about some aspects of grammar usage, not of punctuation usage, not all of it, but more than other parts of grammar. Definitely more than other parts of grammar. It's a bit like the Wild West of grammar. There's a lot of lawlessness out there that's being accepted. So that's all we're going to look at in this lesson about the emphasize and surprise phrases. It's the kind of topic that you really need 3 or 4 videos so that you can digest this gradually. If you'd like to join one of our online courses that include live interactive lessons, online tests and feedback, just drop us a line on info@nativespeaker.ie and we'll get you signed up. If you find these lessons helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all from me. The very best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.